Evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the start of another freezing cold, wet week. You know what I mean? So tonight I'm rejoined again by the man with the hat, the man with the bonnet, the hat man, Luke Tabram.
Hello.
Luke's here for the Shadow Paranormal. But before we start, I just want to say I'm assuming everybody's been watching Facebook or the press and stuff like that. That's the wife saying hello. She's in the living room. I just want to give a wee shout out to all the firefighters for what they were involved in the fire in Glasgow last night. There was a major fire in one of Glasgow's most iconic buildings last night. And it started about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon and went on through the night. And the building's destroyed basically, but give the firefighters their due. They did their best to try and save what they can. And so just want to give a mention to them in Glasgow's lost quite a big part of its history. The building opened in the 1850s and it's right in the middle of the city, and it's kind of landmark, one of these kind of landmark buildings which is sadly gone. But so I just want to give a wee shout out to all the emergency services that attended last night and done what they could to try and save it. But anyway, so tonight Luke is with us. Luke's been with us a few times.
I think it's probably fourth or fifth time, I think.
Any more than two's a few.
Yeah.
As you can tell, he's a decent guy, or I wouldn't have him back on, because we don't allow any riff-raff on this show. You know what I mean? The riff-raff gets kicked to the touch. So Luke is part of Shadow Paranormal. So how are we doing, young man? Long time no see.
It has. It's been at least 3 months.
That's where Laura, she's in the living room as well. Everybody's in the living room tonight. Everybody's here, you know. So
well, best seat in the house.
Well, it's actually good because they can't make any excuses that they were busy. That's how they didn't watch, because I know exactly what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So they can't get away with, I had visitors or something like that. Then I could just see them talking bollocks, basically. So what you been up to?
Well, we were just talking before we came on. Not a lot, thanks to our weather. We've got out to a few places recently. But yeah, just the cold we can deal with. We can handle that. It's the rain that is just it's been almost non-stop since January, and certainly if you like, as you do as well, go out anywhere that's outside and investigate any outside locations. If it's raining, it's kind of hindered massively because you're sort of not wanting to get the equipment wet. Listening to any sounds or anything like that, you might as well give up, because you're not going to be able to hear any sort of minute sounds from the sound of the rainfall. But we're getting to middle of March now, so fingers crossed. Hopefully, we might be getting some better weather soon. We'll be able to get out.
I'm loving the optimism there. I'm loving the optimism. We're having a party without you, so we're extremely busy. And there's your Craig, that's Laura's other half. Hello, Hat Man and non-Hat Man. As you can tell, Craig, you've met Craig. He likes to wear the hat. But no, I know you mean we do. There's outside locations we do. We done one inside location a couple of years back. It's an old abandoned power station, but it's a bit dodgy now, you know, because it was abandoned in 1982, I think it was, and it's a bit worse for wear. Two of the other houses that we did, there's no roofs on them, so right. You were buggered. You know, you were still technically indoors, but you know, technically you were indoors. You just had no roof over you.
Technically indoors, but still wet.
So you still get wet, and no, it's you know, that's just part of investigating it. It just can't be helped. I know doing your way, everybody jokes, the English have much better weather than the Scottish. Sometimes you do. I'm not that I'm jealous or anything, you know. I've heard of many a heat wave in England when we've got the sledges and the snowshoes out,
Yeah.
but I'm not casting anything up. But it's part and parcel. As you say, you can deal with the cold, just stick an extra couple of layers on, but it's when it starts raining and you think it's just not happening. Or when you start investigating, then the rain decides to show up.
I think that's even worse because you get so disheartened after like a little while of investigating. You think, oh, we've got a good night ahead of us, and then it's all the plans are foiled.
A couple of years ago, there's a place near us called Dalcohan. There's an old castle behind it, and we were using the castle for a Halloween investigation. It was alive, and the day of the investigation, it was dry, no rain. We went to the castle and we started the investigation, no rain. And I think we got about 15, 20 minutes into it, and the rain just bang, as if somebody was overhead with a big bucket. Just booked down it came.
Proper
and we
rain.
thought, right, first of all, we need to get back to the cars, which is a good 15, 20-minute walk. And then we need to think of a plan B. So we went to another location, but that was, excuse the pun, that was dead. Basically, we walked in. You ever get that? You ever walked in a location and you just know that nothing's going to happen?
Plenty of times. And even places that we've had things happen before, we've gone back to, and you just go in there and you think it's whatever was there before isn't there now. Just that feeling, that electricity in the air somehow just vanishes from places. It's almost like the magic is gone. But it's certainly had that. And even like in buildings, going from like room to room, or even areas of a place, you can just walk around it and you get to a certain place and you think, oh, there's something a bit different about this. But then you can go there another day and that feeling is not there. So it's definitely had that feeling where, like you say, dead.
You do, Craig. Excuse me, Craig's 6'5" or 6 foot, I don't know, something like that. And I'm 5'6", even though my wife disputes it. She says I'm 5'5". I'm 5'6". Rain takes longer to hit you, Scott. Don't worry, Tom. You and I shall talk. It's fine, totally fine. I mean, I know I do. We've had that as well, and it's very frustrating because the second location we went to that night, we'd already investigated it before, and we didn't get tons of activity, but there was stuff going on. And then we went there, and that night we thought it just feels totally flat. But we tried it anyway. I think we lasted 10, 15 minutes and thought, we were already soaked for the previous location anyway. Do you know what I mean? And we kind of gave it up. I think maybe that's why a lot of people wonder why we do it.
I wonder sometimes. Especially after a night like that where you just like drenched through, tired, and you just... But then it is those little moments where something does happen that keeps you interested. That's the beauty of it. You never end up waiting too long until something sparks your interest in it again, and then you're reminded why you're doing it.
Aye, or you can maybe be there for an hour or two, nothing's happening, and then something happens. You hear a sound, that you can't explain, and that's you. You're right. We're staying.
I mean, we've gone like months before without experiencing anything, and it will start getting to that point where I'm thinking, have we exaggerated things in the past? Have maybe we've just been, not really, we've misinterpreted things, and then you'll just get that one thing that happens, and then you go, oh no, this stuff does exist. It's just taken a few months for it to come back alive again.
But you wonder why that is, because we do London Cup quite a lot, and there's nights where we've been in there, we took other teams there as well, and there's nights where we've had loads of activity, with individual spirits, and then there's times we went back and you wonder to yourself, well, why is nothing happening? Because we were here maybe 2 weeks ago and the place was jumping,
Yeah,
for want of a better word.
yeah. I think it's got to have something to do with the atmospheric conditions because, like, as I say, we've had periods of consecutive months where nothing has happened, and then we've had a few months of activity. So that to me says it's got to be some kind of correlation with weather patterns or some kind of atmospheric condition or solar variations. But
Or
it'd be interesting to see like what other groups get if you could like plot it on a graph. Do other groups experience the same lapse in activity over the same months? Would be interesting to see.
that would be quite interesting to see if there's a kind of pattern to it, or if it's just luck of the draw. It's not an investigation to you're cold or wet or both. This is very true. But it led me to a question months and months ago. When you go to a location and it's it's really, really active, and then you get back and there's nothing, and you think, right, why is this? Maybe because it's going to sound stupid, but it's coming from me, so there's no surprise. Is it because the spirits are away doing something else? So that leads you to the question, thinking, well, where do they go? What do they do?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. If we've got, it's difficult for us because if we're assuming that if they ghosts and spirits have some kind of consciousness that they experience time in the same way that we do, and they experience space in the same way as we do. But it might be that they don't. For if they seemingly vanish or go somewhere else, it might seem like a couple of weeks for us. Is that a second for them? Is that no time passed at all?
Which leads me to another question that I asked ages ago, put up on the page. Say you go to a location on a Saturday night, investigate, and then you leave, and then you go back the following Saturday, another investigation. So that's 7 days for us, between 7 day gap. But spirits there, do they see us get out the door or the gate, whatever, and then coming straight back in?
Yeah, yeah. Again, yeah. Do they exist without us there? Again, yes. Again, it's another thing of like, do they need an observer of some sort in order to exist, or do they exist of their own accord?
Well, we're going to do, it's funny you say that because we're going to be doing, we're not the way we're calling it paranormal stakeout. And we're going to go to different locations and just set up a camera and then go back to the car and sit. We're going to do as a live and then back to the car, and we're going to sit and watch to see. We're going to leave a couple of our K2 and our M-Pod, some of that, lying there as well.
Yeah.
But just to see if stuff happens.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
nobody's there.
People have caught stuff on CCTV cameras or locked off cameras quite often, but again, is even that camera viewing it, is that still a witness as such? But then again, there's like poltergeist cases where people have walked out of a room and come back in, and the room's been turned upside down. So that indicates that stuff does occur whilst we're not there or not watching it.
I mean, we've had that. We had that in the Ivy House. We had a locked off camera and with footsteps come into everybody was up the stairs, and we'd put a locked off camera in the two downstairs rooms, big kind of living room kind of things, and the both cameras had lights on them. One camera, the light moved, and we heard footsteps coming in and a child's giggle, child's kind of playful laugh, and then the footsteps going away again. Everybody was accounted for. Obviously, there was no kids there anyway. But we couldn't explain that. The other reason I started the stakeout is that we go in, say, again, use Loudon Kirk as an example. We go into Loudon Kirk and we put, set stuff up, and then we leave. Our spirit's going to be watching, and are they going to wonder where we went?
Yeah, especially if you completely leave the place, you just leave it open to them. The stage is theirs, essentially.
Exactly. And if there's a K2 sitting, are they going to be curious? Like, oh, well, he's away, so let's go and have a wee look.
Yeah, I'm quite intrigued to see what you're going to pick up on with that. It's an interesting concept.
Well, Laura's added another wee bit of it. It's going to be over 2 nights, but I'm not allowed to tell you. Laura came up with this other idea to do prior to it. But I'm really interested to see if anything. We might sit there for an hour or so and nothing happens.
Yeah,
but it's one of these. It's like everything else. It's what you don't know. You don't try. You don't know. But it will be interesting to see if the spirits react, or because we no doubt you guys have had them as well. We've picked up in EVPs where spirits have been talking to each other. You can hear the whispering.
Yeah, I mean, we've picked up EVP and voices and things like that. A lot of the time, I can't really distinguish what's being said in a lot of them. So whether they are having a conversation between themselves or whether they're talking about us being there, I don't know, because I can't really decipher what's being said in a lot of them, other than that it is speech. But yeah, again, it's interesting. Sort of looking at their perspective of us and how they may see the physical world.
Well, we've had EVPs. I know I talk about Loudon a lot, but with Loudon there's a farm connected to it. There's a connection between the Kirk and the farm. And there's a few times we've been, we've been up at the farm, we've been back to the Kirk, and I've said, I was up at the house, I was up at the farm, it's okay, the people are looking after it. And we picked up EVPs saying Scott was up at the house, Scott was up at the farm. So that leads us to believe that, they're there, they're beside us, and they're listening to what we're saying, and they're interacting with each other. One's telling the other Scott was up at the farm. I was at a farm or a house, they said. But that's happened a few times. But as I said before, my wee wires my wee wire for my headphones is caught in my chair. Talking amongst yourselves. Hold on. It's wrapped through the arm of it. There you go.
Everybody cheer. Well done.
It's wrapped through the arm of the chair. Aye, so, as I said, our daughter started doing podcasts. She started them last year, and she did one last week. And I wrote a wee list of questions for her. So I've got 2 or 3 questions I'm going to ask you. But I want you to tell us about, now again, I pronounce this wrong, Bungay.
Yes. Bungay.
How do you pronounce it?
Bungay, I think it is.
So I was right, that's fine.
Spot on, first time.
You did an investigation there. You did a video there.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a bit of a funny one, really, because I started off, and it's probably, like, per square foot, one of the most haunted places in Suffolk. Because I mean, there's 2 pubs there that are haunted. There's a stretch of road that's got a ghost. There's a castle, graveyard, old priory, and an airbase. So, like, there's all of these different places that are supposedly haunted. We were hoping to be able to investigate multiple of these, but the only place we could actually investigate was the airbase, just because of access issues. I think they were doing, like, building work on the castle, so we could get there. But yeah, then we had to investigate the airbase. It started off more so just as an explore and just walking around there. And then we stumbled across this great big abandoned mansion sitting in the middle of the airbase, which neither of us had any idea was there. We'd not seen anything online about it. Little bit of research, turns out it was I think it was dates from like the 17th century. So we had a walk around there, and funnily enough, that's somewhere I think we may have ordered an EVP. But yeah, really, really fascinating place.
So, the thing that first caught me on to you guys was your videos, but the way you do them, you give a bit of history prior to showing your investigation, what have you. You have done a few crackers.
Oh, cheers.
You have done all your videos are good, but there's a few, and I've not mentioned it before. That house where you get the shadow footsteps outside the gentleman's room, that was, to me, that was fascinating. That just can't everybody's no watch. You go into Shadow Paranormal and scroll down. Luke will tell you the name of the house because I always forget it.
Yeah, that was the Elizabethan house. I mean, I think that was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We filmed that, and we're still yet to record anything that's topped that, I think.
It's when you get that capture, and it's not that you want to be the best or you want to say the word, oh, look what we've caught, and but as you get that really, really good capture that you cannot explain at all.
This is it, and they don't come around very often. Those sorts
They
of
don't,
things.
no.
We've had a handful of them. I mean, we've been doing this for 15 years now, and we've had probably 4 or 5 instances where it's like, wow, that is really weird. We can't explain that at all. And that was one of those.
Well, I mean, as you say, you've been doing it 15 years, you get a handful. Mark Egerton, he's been into paranormal for 50 years now. I'm not getting away guy's age, but he's only ever seen one apparition. He says he thinks it was an apparition, and that's in 50 years.
Yeah. Again, it's just not something that happens very often. I mean, the more you put yourself in these places, the more likely you are to see or experience something. But it's not a guarantee, which is why when these moments do happen, they are so special. And to be able to record those as well is like another level of rarity.
And that's exactly, and that annoys me. Especially, I don't know if you're on TikTok, aren't you?
Yes.
Because I follow you on TikTok.
I follow you.
That's fine. Follow each other on TikTok. But there's a lot. I've seen this to Sarah earlier on, and I've mentioned it a few times. There's a lot. Reese, I don't know if you've noticed mediums sprouting up, tarot readers sprouting up.
Yeah.
New ghost. I don't like to use the word ghost hunting because it feels like you're going to be a big net and a torch. Paranormal teams sprouting up, and all of a sudden they get loads of activity.
Yeah,
they've maybe only been going a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, we both know, well, from experience, as we were just saying, that things don't happen like that. And I think the difference is that people that actually do this and have been doing it for a while will know that you don't get that. Really, you don't get a lot of things happen when you're out and about doing this. I think the people that have never gone out and investigated themselves are more likely to believe some of these groups that seem to have amazing activity in every video, because until you've sat in a graveyard for 4 hours in the pouring rain with nothing happening, you don't realize how unusual it is for paranormal events to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think there should be. I like your viewing this as well. I've said a few times, I think there should be a TV show. I know, I mean, you've got, Ghost Adventures, Most Haunted, shall we say, Ghost Time, when does this, the list is, I was going to say the end is listless. The list is endless. The end is listless. I don't even think that's a word, listless, is it? But however.
It's now.
Well, they've invented another new word. I think there should be a show that shows the other side of the paranormal, the boring side. I'm going to say boring, but you know what I mean? Just people sitting about getting nothing.
Yeah, the problem is, I think it would only work for something like a singular documentary. I don't think they could, because the problem is no one really, other than big fanatics like ourselves that really are interested in all of this, the general public don't want to watch that. That's the problem. I think people would much rather see, whether it's real or fake, people would much rather see people getting loads of activity, rather than just the reality of it. And I think it's always been like that. We've like 25 years of like mainstream paranormal TV, and I think that's even people like I say that back when Most Haunted was big, that kind of had sussed that it was largely fabricated. They still watched it and they didn't care.
I watched. I was a fan. Way back in the day when they were done. I think they'd only been running a year or two. You did, but you believed it.
Yeah, and the thing is that like
You
the
know.
early series of it certainly I think was far more believable. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know what was real and what wasn't. But from what I've gathered and from speaking to people that have worked on it over the years, I think the early series they did actually have things happen. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously it got bigger and bigger. They had to put out more and more episodes, and they fell into the same thing as we realised that things don't happen on command. And if they're trying to make a series, they've got to have something to keep the viewers engaged. So something happening each episode, and if it doesn't happen, they've got to make it happen.
Uh, I totally agree. I do believe in the first one or two seasons, they did get genuine captures.
Yeah, and
But
I don't think the crew can be 100% to blame in that, because I mean it was the behind the scenes, the channel that were asking for or commissioning these episodes. I'm sure they were the ones that laid down the ground rules of what they need.
we want A, B, and C.
Yeah, so I don't think they can be held 100% accountable, but undoubtedly there were things, because there was the whole Creed Crafer thing from Kieran O'Keefe, wasn't there? So it's like things like that. It's undeniably been proven as fake in areas. It's indisputable. But again, who's to blame for that, or who's to be held accountable? I think it's a combination.
But I mean, the other side of the coin to that is, if you're doing a TV show and you're a genuine investigator, whatever, and you're getting good captures, but then it dries up and your network says, look, if you can't find them, fake it. I think. Well, I don't know. I know 100%. I'd walk away. Say, you know what?
Yeah,
No, that's not what I'm about.
yeah. I'd like to. Well, I would. There's no question about it. I wouldn't put my integrity on the line. But again, you don't know what contracts had been signed already, and that's the thing as well. Contracts could have previously been signed, and then you find yourself contractually obliged to do these things. So I don't know. Yeah, well, it's a long 25 years it had been going for, hasn't it? So what's happened
And
in that
I
period?
think it's still. I think it's still going.
Yeah, I see bits and pieces. I don't know whether they're repeats or new videos or new episodes they make. I don't know, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, it is still knocking about.
Sometimes I'll stick a wee episode on YouTube just for a laugh.
Yeah, I mean they're very of the time as well, and that's why I like them, because they completely encapsulate that early 2000s reality television with the paranormal twist in it. So I think I do enjoy watching them, and again, knowing that they're not real, there is still that element of enjoyment, especially like the introduction when they interview people and talk about the hauntings and things like that. That really interests me as well.
I had a few. I mean, Richard. I like Richard Felix.
Yeah, again,
Um,
fantastic hearing like the introduction to the episodes, hearing him talk about the history of the places and some of the ghost sightings and things like that, is just as enjoyable as the actual investigation itself. Watching them scare themselves in the dark.
I always did enjoy listening to Richard. I thought he was, putting his wee bit of history in, and we had him on the show 2 or 3 years ago now, and he was steaming. He was drunk, but he was sober when we started. And he
Yeah,
said before the show, do you mind if I have a wee drink? And I thought he meant juice or something. It was classy like that way. I'm assuming it was whiskey. Fantastic guy. Really down to earth, but glug, glug. The end of the show, I was half baked. Do you know what I mean? But it was funny, you know. It wasn't being an arse or anything. It was a totally genuine down there guy and just chatting away. But I thought it was really funny how he went from that sober to slowly getting worse and worse and worse, and he, you know, like this, like orange juice basically. But on the same TikTok, I've noticed there's a hell of a rise in overnight mediums and tarot readers and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not putting mediums or tarot readers. We know quite a few genuine ones, but it's all of a sudden people are discovering their gift.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's the ones I've noticed the most are, as you said, like the paranormal groups that have started up recently, because there are just so many about now. Most of them sort of, as you say, on the TikTok platform. Yeah, I've not. There's a couple that have sort of caught my eye, and I've enjoyed what they've posted, and I think they seem quite grounded and down to earth in what they do. But I would say 90% of them just seem to be in it for quick thrill, and I can guarantee, like, they'll within 2 years they will have found a different hobby.
Aye, though something else or taking their fancy or whatever. And well, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, because you've been in the paranormal a long time. And how do you think this paranormal field? I've been interested in the paranormal for decades. We've only been doing this for about 6 years this year. Obviously, you've been at it 15 years. You must have seen a big change in the paranormal field over the years.
Yeah, more so just the popularity thing of it. It went from being, certainly I wasn't right in there right at the beginning with like the start of Most Haunted. I mean, I was to the point where I was just starting to break through into, being something that everyone was comfortable talking about without being that really weird subject. But going from that to, as we say, just every other person seems to have heard of a group or knows someone that's involved in a group or been on an investigation nowadays, and especially with all of the public ghost hunting companies that put on events. You can.
I've heard a few of them.
Yeah, but again, it's like they're so readily available, and I think they are probably, for me, part of the destruction of this whole field, really, because of those companies, the cost of hiring and renting locations has skyrocketed, and just made it inaccessible for small groups like ourselves, like yourselves. And unless you've got 40, 50 people in a group, you can't get in these places just because of the costs. So I think they've probably had the most negative impact on all of this overall. And to me, they don't give, other than walking around in the dark, they don't really give a accurate representation of investigating either.
So that's what I was just going to. Just when you say that, you give me another question, basically. But before I come to that, now the 15 years, do you think? I mean, the paranormal has kind of became more popular, as you said as well, and I've seen many a show over the last, I say, 10, 12 years, whatever. It's came more out with these new teams, blah, blah, blah. Do you think it's made people, no doubt you've known people in the past that maybe something's happened to them, they can't explain, but they'll not say anything because of the stigma, in case they get slagged off or anything. Do you think it's gave people that kind of doorway to come forward more and say, well, this happened to me, a couple of months ago, I was in my kitchen and a plate flew across the kitchen, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think it's certainly not done any harm in that. I think all people have always liked talking about ghosts and strange experiences and things. I think that's just always been part of the human psyche. Anything you can't explain makes a good story. I think there are people that don't want to come across as silly and daft. And I don't think they would have shared their experience 20 years ago, and I don't think they'd share it now because they're just those sorts of people. But certainly there are people that I suppose in the past would have been a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I should say this. it definitely happened, but I don't want to come across as strange. I think they're free to say it now, and there isn't that stigma attached to it, as you say. It has helped in terms of that, but I also think it's opened up the doorway to people believing in things that aren't so paranormal as well. Everyday mundane experience they've kind of put paranormal meaning to.
I call that the parawagon.
Yeah, again, I think that's it. Sort of swung full circle on that respect. There are a lot of people that would have just put something down to being a rational thing in the past, but now because everyone is, it's very much more in our psyche. All of this kind of thing, people do kind of attribute things to being paranormal, whether they 100% believe it or whether they think it just makes for an interesting story or makes them seem more interesting. I don't know, but yeah, I've certainly noticed that.
Or they can sell their story or get followers or whatever the hell they're after. Just jumping back quick to the events thing, no disrespect to anybody who does it, that's the kind of thing. Do you not think that it kind of ruins it for genuine teams? It takes the focus off of genuine teams, because I think the majority of people who are just starting in the paranormal go to events. I might be wrong. This is just my opinion.
Yeah,
they tend more to go to events to get an idea, whereas that's really not what it's like. So do you think these are damaging the sort of true aspect of the paranormal as well?
I wouldn't say they're damaging in the actual investigation side of things, because they're completely different things, and it is an entry. A lot of people will go to these events and get an interest in it from that, but I don't think it's helping at all, because I mean, I didn't start with that. I heard of somewhere locally that was supposed to be haunted, and I just went there for myself. And that's how people should be getting into this. Is just, you don't need to spend 50 quid to go and spend an evening somewhere with 50 other people. Take yourself to and everyone lives near somewhere that's supposedly haunted. Take yourself down there one evening, bring a chair and a flask, and just sit. Maybe if you've got a camera, your phone or whatever, just do some recordings as well. That's what you need to get into this. But I mean, the main thing, like I say, for me with these companies is just making locations inaccessible. Is the biggest damage they've done, because going back, I mean, I know a guy that's been investigating for about 35 years now, and he said, like, late 90s, early 2000s, you could contact a great range of places and just sort of say, is it right if we investigate here? And they'd, a lot of the time, just let you in for free. They'd just be like, yeah, sure, here's the key, lock up when you're done. And that was it. And now, even places, it's like that are quite small places, they know that there is this financial gain from a lot of this. And fair play, no one expects anything to be free nowadays, but it's milked massively. And
as just after lockdown get lifted, I contacted a castle, and I was trying to do an investigation there, and it was either 3 or 4. I think it was 4,000. It was £4,000 for 3 hours.
Yeah.
This is what, and I was like,
you booked it then, did you?
How much? £4,000. Sarah and Laura will tell you, for 3 hours. I was like, no chance,
The issue that because I mean, I've wanted to for a good few years now is have a location that we can properly investigate and monitor for a prolonged period of time. Again, a lot of the financial implications is kind of hindering that, and you could ideally, buildings are better for that, because you've got a little bit more control. You can seal off places. You haven't got to worry what the weather's going to do. No one's going to come in and disturb the environment or anything like that. So ideally, a building is perfect for monitoring a place over a long period, doing a study on it. which is again how we can hopefully understand how hauntings work. If there's any patterns, if there's any correlations with weather or anything like that. But because of this huge financial sort of situation we found ourselves in with locations, it's not really possible for anyone to do that.
Well, we're actually quite fortunate that we've got Loudon Cut, because that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been doing it for about 4 years now. Loudon Cut, and it's free. It's like a cut card. It's no, and so easy access to it 24/7.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of doing that kind of thing there. And Sarah and I get married there last Halloween. Because it was getting, and we're formed a kind of, it's going to sound daft to people, some people probably, but we're formed a kind of bond with the place. I mean, yourself, look, no location is unique to any specific team or group, whatever, but it's like a second home to us, and it's quite special to us. There was a guy in there a few weeks ago, and it was his first ever investigation, and he was saying there was a male spirit there that liked fish and chips and liked smoking and all the rest of it, and it was really annoying us, what this guy was coming out with, his witchcraft and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And there's talk about he's going to be doing ghost tours, and I think one of the places he's going to go is doing to, Loudon, where and I've said if he does this, then I'm going to get on and just put a stop to it, because it's just totally disrespectful, But no, I know you mean we have looked at places in the past, and the costs. I mean, we're not big deals, there's no 4 years, it's just no feasible financial wise to do it. And as you say, a lot of these locations, they've saw an opening, they've saw a way to make money, and I mean, take East Drive, that's a prime example.
Yeah, well, East Drive is another kettle of fish anyway, but
I mean, I think that's booked out 7 days a week. I don't know how much it is per night, but do the math, even £300-400 a night, whatever.
I just can't believe that East Drive has managed to sustain itself for this long. I thought, because I went there in 2018, and
so you've actually done it?
Yeah, I spent the night in there, slept there. But at the time, I was thinking, oh, I'm on the bandwagon. I'm investigating here at the right time, and it will probably be no one would have heard of it in 5 years' time. But yet here we are, and it's still somehow one of the most popular places in the country for all of this. And I can tell you now, there was absolutely nothing there. When you said earlier about walking into a place and it feeling dead, that was it.
It's when you watch. I've watched some people on YouTube there, and some of these ghost shows, and as soon as they walk in the front door, did you feel that? Oh, I can feel that. What is that? I might watch. It was so funny. I've got two questions for you, but I'll come to them in a minute. It was a show. Yeah, I'm going to name it. So who cares? Ghost Dimensions. I don't know if you've ever watched it.
Can't say I've seen that one. No.
It's a married couple, that they go about doing, and they did East Drive, and the two of them were up the stairs in the bedroom, and they came out and they were standing facing each other. And this woman just looked in the bedroom and all of a sudden just let out this almighty scream. And her husband standing face to face with her like this. There was a couple of seconds delay, then he started screaming. You would have to actually watch it, but I thought it was hilarious, just the way, and then he's like, what the hell are you screaming about? It was just a delay in the screams. But no, I mean, East Drive, it's been going for years and years, and surely, I mean, it's still one of the most popular locations in the country.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was just going to...
I don't know why.
I can't, because it's not even a particularly interesting place. It doesn't look that exciting, and it's tiny as well. It's a really small house. I mean, it's just your standard semi-detached 1950s or 40s houses. that one's baffled me how they've managed to sustain it, and people still seem to, despite it being exposed numerous times, people still seem to think it is extremely haunted.
Coal bunker, the coal cupboard, whatever you call it, you call it coal shed, whatever, where the guy's meant to hide.
Yeah,
That got me as well.
I shut myself in there for probably 20 minutes or so.
And did the guy come and get you?
No, I just felt like I was stood in a cupboard. There was nothing weird or spooky about it at all.
I saw folk getting into the cupboard, and shut the door, and then their teammates would get back and get them sometime where they open the door, and they'll come out the cupboard like, oh, thank God you're here. You'll never believe what happened. I get touched in the shoulder or in the head or the bum. Oh, I can't believe it happened. I need to go outside. I need to recharge and refocus. It's like, seriously,
I mean, to be fair, I suppose because you're in a dark room and you're on edge, I suppose people could think they've been touched, and it could just be a case of a bit of their clothing is just, fallen on their back or something like that. So I suppose there is the possibility they're not lying. They just aren't really aware of what's going on in there. But yeah, I don't believe a lot of that. It wasn't spooky. You just shut yourself in any cupboard. That's what it felt like. There was nothing, no atmosphere, weird, nothing.
It's like I don't know if you ever heard of the Ivy House just outside Warrington.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
We did that about 3 years ago now, something like that. We drove down and we met up with Charlie and Rocks, and there was a couple of folk there. And we'd heard all the stories prior to going, the doctor that murdered his wife in the bathtub, and the footsteps you can hear, the dragging of the body, you can hear dragging of the body. But the only thing we caught was, this is earlier on with the locked off camera, was the little girl with the footsteps. But there was nothing. Did we go on an off night? I don't know. But there was absolutely nothing. But we heard so many stories about it, about the place. And it was a bit of disappointment.
Yeah, I often find they are usually the disappointing ones, the ones you hear so much about. Seem to be the ones that offer so little when you actually go there. But I think that's probably an element of it. Might just be like unrealistic expectations.
I think I've asked you this before. So, do you think, this is my opinion, that the places that are never investigated or are rarely investigated, like a wee cut card, a wee church, whatever, that's where you get the most activity? What do you think? Have you found that?
I certainly think they are just as active as the well-known places. We've had loads of interesting things happen on places that are sort of off the map and not particularly well known. I don't know if it's because they're not investigated as much as some of the other places, or whether they just happen to be more active. I don't know. But yeah, certainly you don't need to go to some of these really well-known places to experience things. There's a lot of the time we can just sort of be driving past somewhere, or we might just come across somewhere online, or someone will tell us about a place and we'll just say, oh, it looks quite an interesting location. We just go spend a bit of time there, and then that's where things happen. So sometimes it's just trial and error. Just if somewhere tickles your fancy, you just got a feeling about a place, give it a go. Quite often nothing will happen, and it is just a fascinating looking place. But there are those few times that you do get something there.
Nice. See, that's what I like about you guys, and a lot of the folk that bring the show, that you will come up and you will admit, right, we did A, B, and D, but there was nothing happened, absolutely nothing. We went to C, and we got a wee bit of activity, but you get all these other folk come on all everywhere, and with it, tons of Satan appeared and blah blah blah. Every time we go, something happens, and tons and tons of activity and all that. No, you didn't. But one question, I asked this on a show with Rigger and Charlie the other week, and my daughter asked it. um, to our guest last week as well. As one of these staff questions that popped into my head, but it did get people thinking. So, how do you use it? So most people dream. You know, we all have dreams, and some dreams we can be in the one place. Other dreams you can be in several places. You know, like maybe holiday work. You know, in the house on the same dream. But in the dream, we don't remember getting from A to B to C, and we don't have any. There's no time in it. You know, in your dream, you don't say, "Well, I finished work at 4:30. I'm home by 5." You just see me go from one place to another. Do you think that's what it's like in spirit?
I really don't know. I mean, we kind of touched upon it earlier when we were saying, like, if you leave a place, do they just see you opening the door to leave and coming back in again? I guess, I mean, until we've reached that point of being an ethereal being, I don't know, but it certainly it's an interesting thought, definitely. Um, and it's not something I've particularly thought of before, but yeah, it's,
But as it go your mind, as it go your thinking?
yeah, certainly. It's again, it's just anything that is a different way of perceiving the world and perceiving things. And it's when you are dreaming, it is sort of that a limited consciousness as well. And I often think that hauntings quite often have a limited consciousness, as in they are only aware of certain things or a certain time, which I suppose could be reflected in a dream as well. You can't in dreams the idea of rationalization doesn't exist for the most part, and I think again if you're looking at a haunting, when they're almost like they're trapped in a certain time, or a certain moment, and that rationalization for them doesn't seem to exist. That they're talking to someone, us, the investigators, they're talking to us or communicating with us, but they don't seem to realize that they don't exist in that time period anymore. It's very strange, but again, that sort of limited consciousness is what I'm trying to get at with it.
And the other thing I thought it was, right, you know, we're dreaming, say we were dreaming we're driving a truck at work, you know, we don't realise that we're dreaming.
No, that's
you know,
it.
To us, it's real.
And do they realise that they're dead?
That's what I was going to. So does that explain why some spirits don't realise that they've actually passed on?
Yeah, to be fair, that is the first time that's actually popped into my head of looking at it that way. But I mean, that makes complete sense, doesn't it? A lot of people.
And could that explain residual hauntings?
Yeah, again, I think the residual hauntings. I mean, if you're dreaming, you don't really have any perception of anything other than what you're dreaming of, do you? And it's kind of that when we think of residual hauntings, they are just only aware of that particular task or activity or moment in time that they're experiencing when the haunting replays.
So to them, they're actually living out that moment, whatever it is they're doing in it. But, you know, in the physical world, to us that's a residual haunting. I get myself mixed up with my own thoughts sometimes. You ever do that?
Quite often.
You get thoughts in your head and then you get yourself mixed up with what you originally started thinking of. But it's just one of these things, you know, I thought, well, if being in spirit sort of dream state, we don't realise we're dreaming. So the spirit, does that explain why they don't know they're passed on? Because they think they're still doing their everyday work, or they're still sitting in their house, or, you know, whatever. I don't know. But I wanted your opinion on it, you know.
I certainly think like the analogy of it is an interesting way that we can maybe try and understand a potential theory as to how they look at things and why they think the way they do, certainly. And the best bit there was when you're asleep, you don't know you're dreaming. When they have, if we're assuming they're a soul, once they're passed, they don't know they're dead.
So that could make, I don't know. Maybe I've just solved the mystery paranormal.
Yeah, well, it's because that's one thing I've
No.
never understood. It's like you see it and you think, well, how do you not know you're dead? I've never quite wrapped my head around that. But yeah, no, if you compare it to dreaming, then yeah, you don't.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's some spirits know the dead. I mean, I've had messages from my grandma, my daughter, my dad. You know, through through a medium. But the stuff that this woman told me was 100% bang on. There's no chance in hell that she could have known. So I think some spirits do, some people actually do know, they realise that they have passed on, but then there is other ones that maybe they don't, maybe they think they're dreaming, or it's, it's mind-wise, I would, sort of kind of blow you up, But I'm watching the time, young man. Another thing I was going to ask you was, now, I mean, people have been investigating for decades, way back to the late 1900s, etc., late 1800s. And the paranormal world got a whole lot more technical. Now, I know you guys use a lot of tech. Do you think it was better the old way, or do you think it's better with tech? Beneficial,
It depends what you want as an investigator. If you want to experience something or see something or hear something, then a lot of the time, the old way, just put yourself in an environment and see if anything happens. If you want to try and learn about more so the mechanics of a haunting, then I'd say using a range of equipment is beneficial, because you can then see, is there, if something is happening, does it correlate with a temperature change, or does it correlate with a fluctuation in the magnetic field, or ultrasound, infrasound, things like that. So it depends what you want to get out of it, really. So I would say a good mixture, not going one way or the other, is probably the best. I don't think it was necessarily 100% better in the old days, because it was limited. But at the same time, I think a lot of the time people then were much more focused on just sitting and watching. It's like a lot of I think it was like the Harry Price at the Borley Rectory. He basically done a ghost watch study. He had however many people stay in the rectory, and just he'd set them in a room and say, right, you're sitting here for 4 hours, and you're gonna make notes on here, and every time something happens, make a note of the time and what's happened. I think we've lost that just observational technique. I think because of the increase in technology, we feel the need to constantly have something happening, constantly be running a piece of equipment, where I think the best thing sometimes is just sit back and just see what happens.
Well, that's part of the what we're stakeouts about. We're just going to, well, as I say, we're going to have a couple of gadgets sitting, but we are just going to go and sit in the car and just watch, and I say some people might find it boring. Some people we might get absolutely not a job, but it is going to be interesting to watch. Last question. You've done a lot of investigations. Well, two questions actually. Technology can be corrupted, though. Just you were saying about the sitting watching, we kind of lost that. Do you think it would be good to bring that back? I don't know how it would be done, but do you think people need to sort of
it's all
back
part
in
of
the
it.
old ways? And
it's like bird watching. People will go out and sit for hours with their binoculars, waiting for to see a specific bird. And to me, it's no different. That I mean, we what was it you called it? Was it the stakeout? Like we call it
paranormal stakeout.
That's it. We say, shall we do a bit of ghost safari? Is what we call it when we do that, and we will just sit down and just maybe spend half an hour just having a look and see if anything changes, anything happens. A lot of the time it won't, but it's I think it's an important thing to do, because when people see ghosts a lot of the time, or when people have an experience, a lot of the time they're just walking along and something will happen. They've not got any particular bits of equipment they're using to find a ghost. It will just be something happen. So reverting back to that and just observing an environment is the rawest way of having something or having an experience. Yeah, I just think it does get a bit boring sometimes if you are just sat there and nothing's happening. But I think it is just as important as, calling out and trying to actively get interaction.
See, I don't find it boring. I think it's going to sound weird, but it's me. I find it quite exciting because I think I've seen it in a few shows. It's you don't know what's going to happen, in the next 60 seconds or in the next 2 minutes. It could be nothing, 20 minutes down the line, you could still be nothing happen. But you don't know that. And it's just sitting, just kind of, looking about, listening. I find that quite exciting because you just don't know if something's going to. Because, I mean, it usually says, you could be walking along the street and something happens to sitting on a bus, whatever. And part of me might see somebody, something, whatever, and you're just not expecting it, you're not ready for it. And it's that kind of I like, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the next 60 minutes, 60 seconds, whatever. And
yeah. And that's the thing, and it literally could be anything could happen when you're doing this kind of thing. There are no rules laid down as to what could happen.
It's like, sorry, I was going to go.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, what I was saying with it being boring, like we were saying, if you're in a place that just feels dead and you sort of sit down and do the ghost safari, that's when it can get, for me anyway, it can get a bit tedious if you just kind of think, it doesn't really feel like there's anything going on here, but just see what happens. And it just feels like you're sat in an empty space, nothing going on. But then sometimes that can change, and sometimes it is worth giving it a go, because something could happen.
Definitely. A couple of years ago, Halloween, Laura and I, we did two walks, two different cut cars. I did one, she did the other, and I did Loudon. And I wasn't investigating or anything. I was just doing a wee live. It was Halloween, and I take folk a wee wander in the dark, showing me headstones, stuff like that. And I didn't have any bits and bobs with me, and I was just standing down the back end, just showing people the Dempster, because our family burial plot down there. I was just showing them the plot, and I felt two tugs on my left sleeve. There was nobody else there, myself, but it was two definite tugs on my left sleeve. Totally out the blue. It only happened to once, but as I say, I wasn't investigating, I wasn't calling out, I wasn't asking nothing. I was just saying, this is a Dempster plot, telling folk a wee bit of history about them, and then I felt the bang. Who's that? Use the French, and nothing else happened, but it's just that one wee thing, and it's apparently just what you were saying. You're totally right. It can just happen. You can be sitting there, and it just happens.
Yeah, and it can be anything.
It can be anything at all. I mean, there was one time, we had a few things happen in our old house, and there was one day in particular, Sarah was in the hall, and she noticed the keys in the door were swinging, bang forward. The people might just say, that's nothing, but something's making the keys move. It wasn't draft, the door was shut. The front door was shut, it wasn't drafted or anything. So I very, very gently and carefully stopped them from moving, and they were sitting still, but then they started moving again. A few seconds later, they started moving again to go, all right, who's making who or what's making them move? And so it can be this, as we were saying about these new teams that have come in, they're expecting big stuff to happen and stuff like that. I say, well, it can be anything, it's the keys just moving slightly. Well, something's making the keys move.
Yeah, it's just quite often very, very subtle things. But again, that's not what people have sort of come to expect with a lot of this. But yeah, that's the reality of it. It is quite often fairly subtle things.
that you wouldn't even. I think it's just sheer chance that Sarah. It's something you wouldn't have noticed, you know. It was sheer chance that Sarah noticed the keys were moving. But well, one more question for you, buddy, and then I'll wind it up. You've done a lot of investigations. Have you ever felt like you've been followed around? This has happened to us. We always felt there was a little girl following us around at different locations. Have you ever encountered anything like that?
So, as in, followed us back from a place? Do you mean, or
No followed you back to, no followed you home. But say you've done a kirkyard and then a castle and then a stately home, that you've had the same spirit follow you.
no? I can't say I have done that. I mean, I've heard of it happening, but I can't say that's ever happened to any of us. I don't think. Um, I mean, it's difficult to say without having something tangible to. I mean, to link the same spirit to different places. I mean, it could be the same entity. But yeah, I've not found anything to sort of to make me think that at any point. No.
Because you see, it's happened to us quite a few times. We've always felt that there was a little girl, and we've asked the question: was this the same little girl that was, in Edinburgh vaults with us? And we've had our can you light the box up, the K2, whatever? Can you light that up if you're the same little girl, and the box is lit up? And we've
Okay.
tried it in different other times. It would stare as well. So I was just wondering if other teams would other people would experience it, or whether we were just the loonies.
Yeah, I mean, I know it has happened to other people. It's just not something that's happened to us really. But again, that's not. I've never had that feeling that it's the same thing with various places. But I know someone that has had EVP come through that's sort of very, very similar vocal patterns and has actually confirmed that it is the same person.
It's. I mean, we obviously, you're a bit skeptic, same as myself, same as we all need to be. It's you get these EVPs, and it's intelligent responses to what you've been asking.
Yeah, and yeah, they're the interesting ones. They're the ones that make it sort of worth doing with the EVP and things like that. But again, I don't think they're overly common. You get EVPs that are that good and that clear that you think, wow. But they do occur from time to time.
And that's what makes it even more exciting. But I will wrap it up there, young man. I've kept you long enough. So what's next on the books for Shadow?
Oh, we've got trying to think now. We're up to Cannock Chase later this week.
Black-eyed children.
Black-eyed children. Yeah, we went up there last year, and guess what? It rained, so we didn't really get to investigate much there. So we're back up this week, and guess what? It's going to rain.
Well, we're away. We're going away a long weekend break this weekend, and I checked it up the other day. It was maybe sunny, but now I checked it today and it's maybe raining. But what do you make of the black-eyed children? The story. I mean, for what I might have this wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was meant to be. It was a father took his two children to the forest, buried them, left, buried them, and then he went back and died himself. I don't know if that's the right story or not, but that's one of the stories I heard a long time ago.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's the one at Cannock Chase, or if it is, it's not the most well-known one. I mean, the black-eyed children's a bit of an anomaly, really, because it was an urban legend that happened or started to spring up in America at the same time. I mean, this was before the internet and all of that. So there's probably some kind of a connection with it being the urban legend, but there are a lot of people who say they've seen the black-eyed child or heard the black-eyed child or heard a child in those woodlands. Certainly when we were there, we didn't. But like I say, we're going back later this week, so who knows? Maybe we'll encounter it.
Well, think he's going to be doing a wee video of it, putting a wee video together.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got we'll be doing a full episode on it, so that'll probably be out in I think May, hopefully, so in a couple of months' time. Obviously depending depending on how much filming we get done this week, weather permitting.
I know we've had to put lots of filming off until May. Bannockburn and Edinburgh's a documentary we're doing for CRA Entertainment. We're meant to do it before Christmas last year, but the weather was just crap. And as you know, it says a few times the night, the weather's just been pants. So
Yeah.
I've said to CRA, we're going to try and do it in May when the weather's maybe a wee bit more predictable. Because like I said, the day it was sunny this morning and this afternoon it was belting down with rain, and then the sun came back out briefly. Right? So you can't, you know yourself, filming outside can be, it's all right, as you said, if you're indoors, you know, weather doesn't matter, but if you're outside and, you know, it's sunny and then you start filming and then the heavens open, you've just got, you can't do it.
No, that's the problem. You can't rely on it being clear for even an hour.
So it's a case of, you know, do we try it now? You know, no doubt you guys are the same. Do we go out and give it a try and hope that it doesn't rain for a couple of hours? Or do we just postpone it till when the weather should be, hopefully be?
Should, yeah.
A bit better. But we'll wait till May comes around and see what the weather's. You just can't predict. So you're off to Cannock Chase?
Yeah, Cannock Chase. Yeah, we've got a few other ones planned. We've got a fort and we've got an old mill planned as well over the next few months. So yeah, I've got plenty on the cards coming up. So
how do you? I know I say we were winding up. How do you pick out your locations? Who does the choosing and what kind of attracts you to? Because I mean, let's face it, England's littered by haunted locations and woods and etc. So how do you actually go about picking?
Oh, I've just comprised a list over years and years. People telling me places, or I'll watch a video on YouTube and a group or someone who investigates somewhere, and I'll think, oh, that's an interesting one. So I've just got this enormous list of locations, and I just every now and again I'll go through and just have a look and see what ones are actually accessible, what ones are actually worth having a look at, and then once I've sort of got a handful of those, I'll just make inquiries. Quite often it will just be a case of seeing, oh, how far away is it from us? Do you have to pay to get access, or is it like free 24 hours? If it's free 24 hours, fantastic. We can just arrange a trip whenever we want. And then sometimes it's just a case of arranging with the owners a time to go there.
Do you ever get any trouble with, you know, any bother with, you know, trespassing laws? Because up here we don't have trespassing. There's no such thing as private land in Scotland. We've got the free to roam law up here, so you can basically go anywhere. But does that not hinder you a little bit down south?
It does, yeah. I mean, there's been some times it's been a little bit dodgy. It feels like someone might turn up there and tell us to leave. But I think a lot of it's common sense. Just if it's an obvious place and like you're right out on the main road, people are going to see you going in there. Someone's probably going to come and have a word. So it's just being discreet with it, not making a big song and dance. And if, like I say, if there's somewhere you think, oh yeah, I'm not sure about this, there's lots of signs up, there's CCTV cameras, don't risk it. So it's just take it place by place, just do an assessment and see whether it's. I mean, it's a risk with all of them, but just see whether it's worth it.
Aye, then as you say, at the end of the day, you need to kind of weigh up the kind of pros and cons, yeah, and you know, is it worth going here? Are we going to get caught, or can we go to prison? You know, if we get caught, or you know,
Yeah, I mean,
something
that's it.
nasty like that.
Some of these places, I mean, they've been abandoned for 20, 30 years, and you know, they're covered in graffiti. There's nothing inside them. No one cares really. It's just a given that people go in. So you generally fairly confident no one's going to come and tell you to leave. And then you get some that, yeah, are a little bit more out the way. And again, you just got to assess it location by location and just have a look at it and say, is it worth it? Is it not? And just weigh it up.
The graffiti annoys me. We've got two locations that we've done. I'm hoping to do one again, Caldwell House and Dalquaham Castle. It's called. It's two old olds. They were actually designed by the same guy, but they're a good 30, 40 miles apart. We've done both locations. Caldwell was major active. Dalquaham was okay. But they're beautiful homes in their time. You know, they're just shelled now.
Yeah.
But there's graffiti everywhere. You know,
yeah,
every single room, basement, everything is just covered in graffiti, and it's a shame because they were beautiful. They still are beautiful buildings, you know, and it's they just get totally vandalised. You think why, you know, and it's all the usual, you know. Zico was here 2025.
Yeah.
Who cares, you know? And it is really a shame that folk do that, but it's the world we live in, isn't it? But so where can people find you, bud?
Yeah, we're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. Shadow Paranormal. So yeah, go and have a look.
Yeah. So we're going to wind up there, folks. But a big thank you to Luke for coming on, and give them a wee follow and a wee look, because they are a genuine group, and you do get a wee bit of history in it. Their videos are really, really interesting. Let's face it, if they weren't interesting, I wouldn't have bothered with them in the first place. But hey ho, so you heard Luke Everon. This was his fourth or fifth visit to us, so they are quite interesting. I'm trying to build you up here, look a wee bit, you know, I'm trying to build you up. But,
cheers, I appreciate it.
No, generally, folk, as we say there, there's a lot of monkeys out there, you know, and but it's when you find genuine teams, a genuine passion for both the history and there's a spirit side there, and they combine the two of them. I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about Shadow. That's the ones you want to watch. Don't go watching these other ones that meet Satan in every investigation. Go and watch these, you know, down the earth guys can hang. But see, we'll wind it up there. We're back on, I don't know, we're back. Bear with me 2 seconds, young man. I check with me actually. We're back on the 22nd this month. Sarah, Laura, and I are going to be doing a show about our journey so far. We've been running for 6 years now, so we thought we'd put together a wee show to show our journey so far. Not the most exciting stuff, probably, folks, but who cares? So that's it for the night, folks. So enjoy the rest of your week, and you will be seeing Luke again at some point. All right, so cheers now, and bye. Bye.